Is this Les Miles' last game as LSU Tigers football coach? What happens if so? We'll talk about that and maybe squeeze in a few Texas A&M references. Coming up next on Talkin Tigers. Well, a little less than a month ago, everything seemed peachy for LSU as they were on the road to a possible national championship run. And now, the day after Thanksgiving, all the talk is about whether Les Miles will be coaching his last game at LSU. To talk about that and so much more, here comes Ron Higgins via Skype from Baton Rouge. Welcome in, Ron.
How you doing, Jim?
Well, pretty well. I'm out in Covington today. You're in Baton Rouge, so we're all over the place. We're using this new digital platform to a T. You ready to go? Let's talk a little bit about all the talk this week has been about Les Miles and whether this is last game. And asking Jim Kleinpeter earlier in the week, he said there's zero chance this isn't his last game. So do you feel the same way? Are you positive that this is Les Miles' last game as LSU football coach?
Yeah, I believe this is Les' last game as LSU's football coach. And it's one of those things, I mean, like I said, I've never seen something turn this quick. In 35 years of sports writing, I've never seen a situation turn this quick. But obviously the powers that hold the purse strings have felt the accumulation of things. And the last 3 weeks of double-digit losses obviously pushed them over the top. And that's it. I know the rest of the nation, the country thinks LSU is crazy. They're for getting rid of this guy. They're spoiled because of his winning percentage. But the last 4 years of decline in the SEC record, his refusal to do offense, and the fact it's not just Alabama beating him now, it's other teams with new coaches, Arkansas and Ole Miss in particular. It's accumulation of all these various things. And I think that's what the national media fails to see about this because they're not around here all the time. But everything's kind of stagnated right now. And you see the same mistakes every game. And that's also a problem. I think finally the people who put up the big money for Les's contract feel they're not getting an investment on their return. And it's a hard decision because Les is a very likable guy, one of the most likable football coaches I've ever met. And that's what makes this decision hard.
Well, Ron, what about the fact that, there's so much talk that people don't realize around the nation. People don't realize that this is still a very young team. They have a sophomore quarterback, a guy that was a Heisman shoe-in just less than a month ago, and now maybe not even be one of the five brought to New York. But, it's still a very young team. The line is young, and both sides of the football, there are kids all over the place that next year is supposed to be the year. Did that not factor in at all?
I don't think it factored in one bit. I mean, I think the fact that the same mistakes are being made every game, too many penalties, too much confusion from the sideline to get in plays, stuff that's being repeated over and over, pass coverage bust, over and over again. And the secondary has some veterans in it, so you wonder about that. I mean, it's come down to the decision. Say, well, give him another year. Well, how's that going to play out in recruiting when it's already out there that
right.
If he doesn't make it next year, he's gone. So basically, they've killed any chance of recruiting for next year if they keep him because the word is out he could be gone.
Well, they have to turn around and focus and play this last game and try not to end the regular season on a 4-game losing streak. How do they do that?
The hardest part of this is how, that they haven't played very well the last 3 weeks, and now you have this addition of your coach leaving, and can they get it together to kind of play well and win this game? I've batted this one back and forth all over the place. And, last week, I probably might be the only person that picked LSU because I really felt like they had enough character to pull through and play well and win the game. But I mean, the way I look at it right now, A&M their senior class has never beaten LSU. They're 0-3. They're hungry for this. I'm going to go with A&M in a close game just for the fact that I don't know if I just haven't seen anything from LSU the last 3 weeks to leave me, but that they can get off the mat and play a great game, even if it's for their coach who's leaving. I it's just too many things have gone wrong. I mean, that said, I'm picking A&M, but could easily flip the other way because with this LSU team, Jim, as you've seen, you never know what you're going to get from week to week. Except the last 3 weeks, we've gotten the same thing.
Well, Ron, what do you expect the crowd to be like? It's going to be, an emotional game for, not just the kids and coaches on the sideline. It's, as we saw by his radio show the other night, it's going to be an emotional game for a lot of fans. I mean, this guy has been the coach of LSU for more than a decade now, since Katrina, and to think that even if you don't like him, it's still going to be sort of a sad moment. So, what do you expect from the crowd this weekend?
Well, I expect it to exactly be the way. I mean, I was at Tennessee, covered Tennessee when Philip Fulmer had coached his last game after all those years, and they have the Vol walk like they have the Tiger walk, and it's very emotional for fans to see a coach who'd been there a long time. I mean, Fulmer, like Les, won a couple SEC championships, won a national championship. Had been very competitive. A former Vol player. A Tennessee native, and that was very tough for Tennessee fans to see that last day. Les is not a Baton Rouge native, and he's not an LSU graduate, but he's really connected with the city for what he did in stepping into as a head coach that first year in the middle of Katrina, and the way he held the program together, and the way it got better, and the way he recruited, and the fact he does connect with the city. He's a very average guy who connects with anybody he talks to. And that's what I guess that's his charm and personality, and that's what fans have appreciated about him. So yes, it'll be very emotional when he takes that walk down Victory Hill before the game Saturday.
Yeah, and it's really going to be hard to find someone with the character of Les Miles and the personality as well. But before we get to the extra point, real quickly, talk about there's been the rumors that Jimbo Fisher is the next LSU football coach, and whether it's Jimbo or someone else, I mean, Jim Kleinpeter and I talked about this the other day. They have to have someone in mind, or they wouldn't be making this move. I don't think. So, do you think it's Jimbo, and if not, do you think their mind's made up on who the next coach is, or have their sights set on someone?
I think Jimbo's the guy they want. Every coach has his strengths and liabilities. Jimbo's strength is his offense, and the fact he's been here at LSU before. His liability is the baggage he carries with all the off-the-field problems that Florida State has had over the last 9 years, and it's a lot of serious arrests for rape allegations of players, and that's been. And Jimbo's in charge of the program. Not saying he's responsible for that,
right,
but you're responsible for the players you recruit and their character, and that's his. That could be a sticking point. I don't know. I know that LSU needs to look at a demographic of somebody probably in their early 50s or late 40s, 45 to, say, 52 years old, been with a major college program, has a wide-open offense, throws the ball a lot, has a lot of different offensive formations, a great imagination, who's also a great recruiter. And there's probably 3 or 4 guys like that. I mean, there's Jimbo, there's Mike Gundy of Oklahoma State, there's Hugh Freeze of Ole Miss. All fit that demographic.
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it really would. And all those fit the demographic.
Well, I do want to get to that next point, but don't forget, there's also a guy on staff that's been a major college coach. His name's Ed Ogeron, and stranger things have happened.
Yeah, stranger things have happened. But I really feel they want a guy who is an offensive mind,
right?
And I think that's what they're looking for. A guy who's an offensive mind.
I'm just trying to talk.
And that goes against Ed. I mean, Ed's going to, whether Ed stays on the staff or not, Ed's going to land somewhere good. And Ed could be, he may end up at Syracuse as head coach. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it'd be crazy not to keep him on staff. But let's go to the extra point here, and I do want to talk about basketball. It's been not the greatest week for the Tigers. They go into this tournament. They lose. They finished fourth in the tournament they played in last week. It wasn't the greatest week for Ben Simmons. He fouled out of his last game. This is the kind of tournament, the kind of thing that can help these young Tigers grow later on, right?
Right, and I think people forget that they're still down 2 players that Craig Victor will be back very soon. As soon as the semester ends, he'll be eligible to play, and that's a huge addition. Keith Hornsby is coming back from surgery. He'll be back by SEC play. That'll be a huge addition. I think people forget that. And I thought, Ben Simmons played great in this tournament. I know he had a low scoring game this last game against North Carolina State, but he's so darn disciplined. He won't take bad shots, and maybe he might need to take a few sometimes even. But he always gets the ball to open guy. His stat line in this tournament was unbelievable. Some people around him need to start making shots when he gets him the ball, because he's going to get him the ball. That said, I'm still patient with this team because they're missing two guys. When those two guys come back, then they'll have no excuses at all.
Well, it's crazy to see. You talk about a player with the caliber of Ben Simmons. It's almost like he wants to make sure that everybody touches the ball. He can shoot and he can make tons of shots, but he's dishing the ball out, I think, almost too much, like you talked about. It's crazy to see a player of star caliber be like that.
Well, Jimmy, he is what I call a European gene. He lives from Australia, and I've seen this with a lot of NBA players. In Europe, you're taught to pass first, and if you're open from 10 feet and you have a teammate from 5 feet open, whether he's a horrible shooter or not, you're taught to pass it to him.
Yeah.
In America, eventually your coach says, "I don't want you to throw it to the guy at 5 feet because he can't shoot the ball. You take the shot." And it's hard for guys with that unselfish gene to shake that. And I think that's what Ben is going through right now. His greatest strength is his greatest weakness, and that's unselfishness. And that's something he's going to have to shake a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to learn very, very quickly. That's what this preseason is for. Ron, thanks for joining us and talking very candidly about Les Miles and everything else. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, Jim. Take care.
And for LSU, we'll see. Is this Les Miles' last game? It certainly looks like that way. Well, but they still have one more against Texas A&M. We'll talk about it all on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the game. We'll see you on Tuesday on another edition of Talkin' Tigers.